Welcome to lesson 4. Today we're doing your investment portfolio, and I'm going to warn you, this is where things get complicated, and that's why we do these 2-hour financial workshops. So if you're willing to just refer someone really quickly to this email course, post it on your story, or send them an email and just CC me, you're going to be able to walk through all of this with me directly. So if we take 2 hours to cover every single question you might have, that's totally fine. What we're going to do is we're going to complete this wealth model, and I'm going to be able to explain way more in depth how to build an investment portfolio than I can in a few-minute video. That said, I'm going to do my best. So when you are building an investment portfolio, the first step is to review what investments are available, right? Because you might already have some investments. You might be brand new and all of your money is in cash. It totally depends. And so the first thing we need to do is look at what's out there, what's available. And this is not an exhaustive list. If you're reading along on the email course, you're going to understand why I'm presenting this information and why the index funds are something that we can use as a starting point. So what you can do is you can click into these resources and view a list of index funds that track a certain index. This is just designed to be a starting point. At the end of the day, we do not provide financial advice in this email course. We are only providing you a framework to create your own portfolio and realize your own financial freedom. And so what we'll need to do is select those investments. Once we have the investments, you can go in and build your portfolios, because the portfolio should be different in every single account. The reason for this is because every account is going to have a different objective. If you're saving for retirement and it's 30 years away, that's a totally different situation than if you're saving for college and it's 4 years away, or if you're saving for buying a house and you want to do it in 2026. These are the types of things that you need to plan for, and your accounts are going to be the tools that you use to achieve each of those different ambitions. So within each account, you're going to add the account name. So in this case, let's just call it a Roth IRA. And if you're adding in the Roth IRA, how much is in that Roth? Let's say it's $17,000. So if it's $17,000, the next question is, what is it invested in? So if you have cash in there, enter cash in all caps, and that's going to show a 0% annualized return, which is really important because cash is still part of your portfolio. It's not just your investments. And so if you have 30% cash, your historical rate of return is going to be lower than if all of that money were invested. Once you have that, you can start adding in the tickers. So these are just examples where if you're in, for example, IVV, which is one of the more common S&P 500 funds, if you enter in IVV, you're going to get the name. You're also going to get the 5-year annualized return for it. So then you can add in how much is allocated. Let's say you have 50% in here or something like that. So if you put 50% in there, you will immediately see that you are over allocated. It doesn't add up to 100% right now. And so you can go in and delete some allocations like that until you hit 100%. So if you were 30% in cash, 50% in IVV, 20% in VOO, your historical rate of return would be 9.64%. Well, if we took the cash and brought it down to 10%, now we're under allocated, but we can go ahead and add 50% to VOO, for example. And we see that the historical annual return changes. When that happens, we're going to be changing something important, because once you've gone through and you've built out all of these accounts that you have, you're then going to go back to the savings goal, and we no longer need to use the expected rate of return because you're actually going to have a different rate of return. This is obviously not a reasonable rate of return. I'm just entering numbers in randomly, so don't assume that your portfolio should be returning 17.5%, but you can now switch it to investment portfolio historical returns, and you will see that your monthly savings goal changes, because the higher a return you can get on your investments, the less you need to save to achieve the same ambition. So once that's done, you're going to want to go back through. You're going to want to go back to the savings waterfall and figure out how your savings changed, because now you need to save less money, and then you can come back to the investment portfolio and do your double checking just to make sure that things make sense. It's important to know that it is very rare for a portfolio to outperform the S&P 500 on a long time span, right? So if we go back to the savings goal, we see that over 10 years the S&P has returned 11%. That means that if your rate of return right here is something ridiculous, that is probably not going to be an accurate assumption. If anything, if this is showing 17% or something, first of all, talk to me, reach out to me, but also change this back to expected rate of return, and then maybe increase this one to 10% or something like that. It's challenging to make really grounded assessments on how to do this and whether or not what you're doing is right. That's why we do the 2-hour workshop, because then you can actually work with a professional who's been doing this for years and can give you at least some feedback on whether or not the numbers you are seeing are accurate or even within the realm of possibility.